So, let's go back to that time of when I met you. That was at the International Worship Institute in 2000. I mean, of course, prior to that time, I'd listened to, lots of your music. And of course, I'd written you about the possibility of coming to Nigeria. But so I met you at that conference. Yeah. And one thing that struck me at that conference, which was probably the greatest takeaway for me, was that leading worship wasn't something I didn't need to have, six packs, tons of muscles, to lead worship. It was, from all of you guys, yourself, Paul Balot, you guys were, just leading worship with ease. And that's one of the things that I usually say, that lead worship from a position of rest.
That's great.
Yeah. I like you to just, talk a bit about that. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest things that we all deal with is self-consciousness, particularly if you're in a position where you're in front of people or doing things like this. You're or in a studio. You can hear every gurgle and crack of your voice, and the being in a public eye magnifies a lot of times your own inconsistencies or inabilities, that sort of thing. And I think the thing that God has always said to me is, son, you need to relax. You need to relax, because it's not about you, it's about me. And so I created you. And, obviously these are thoughts that over the years God continues to have to say to me every time I get up to lead worship is, son, don't be anything other than who you are, because we don't need anything other than who you are. I made you. Wow. And so you need to relax, because if you'll rest in my ability to move through you, then you'll be at peace, and the people will sense it. And I remember watching a guy way back when I was first being sort of tutored by different artists, and that when I was developing in ministry, I could tell when people would get up on stage and they would it was like nothing changed. They just were them, and they would pull up their guitar and just start talking. And I felt like, oh man, I feel like I'm just right there in front of them having a conversation with them. And I thought, that, Lord, is the peace that I want to have, the rest that I want to have, that you had with the disciples. You were totally God incarnate. And yet you had people like Peter around you who he was Peter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Jesus was not intimidated by any of the disciples' humanity. So I guess I could just say, in answer to your question, God is helping me to not be intimidated by my humanity. He's helping me to realize that he's greater than my humanity. And so I can rest in that. Yeah.
Fantastic.